Hello guys and welcome to the FPL Duo. We are here to obviously react to how Game Week 23 and look towards how Double Game Week 24 is around the corner. So obviously we've just seen the last game of obviously Game Week 23, which was the Man United and Fulham game to wrap it up for this week. And I personally didn't watch it myself, but I heard that obviously Man United did win the game in the end. But before we get into this video, guys, make sure to give this video a like, subscribe for more, and leave a comment down below if you wish as well. Huss is unable to join us for the current moment, but hopefully he can reach us midstream through this Kneejerk reaction, as there is lots to talk about. But hopefully he does make an appearance in this video. But without further ado, obviously on the screen you can see his team and how well it's done for this week. So I'm just going to run through each individual player that he has selected in his 11 and bench, and then summarize where he is in terms of rank and how many points he's had this week. So starting off in goal, he has Pickford, who he did transfer in as one of his 2 free transfers, and Pickford did manage to keep a clean sheet against Brighton away, and I wasn't expecting honestly the clean sheet there. I did expect Brighton to actually score, but Everton did hang on, and we've seen from their impressive defensive performances previously against teams that have kept another clean sheet for the season. So a 1-0 win in the end. He did pick up a yellow card, which did take a point off of his clean sheets. So he ends up on 5, which again is not such a bad result considering the clean sheet came through for Everton once again. Moving on to the back 3, so obviously starting off with Gabriel on 7 points. I believe one of them is a bonus point too. Arsenal did end up winning that game 1-0 in the end. A bit of drama through that fixture on both ends, because first of all, Lewis Skelly picks up a red card, and then later down the line in that match, João Gomez then picks up a red card. So both teams were down to 10 men, but Wolves were unable to equalise on the 10 men Arsenal did have before they went down. And yeah, Arsenal end up scoring the only goal of the game. And I believe the player that scored it, if I can remember, was... It's not coming to me now, but it's not a common goal scorer for Arsenal that did manage to get the win for them. Bit of a struggle, if I'm honest, for Arsenal to keep that clean sheet against Wolves, but I expected a lot more from Wolves, especially with Cunha back in the team. Was unable to have any effect on that back on Arsenal. But yeah, 7 points for Gabriel, and if you still had him, kept the faith, it's a very nice result. Moving on to obviously Trent in Liverpool's game against Ipswich, which was a stormer of a game again. For Liverpool in terms of the title race, another 3 points ahead of obviously Arsenal, and 4-1 win over Ipswich. And it's kind of a shame because they were looking like they were keeping a clean sheet until the obviously Greaves scoring in the last minutes of the game, which wiped the clean sheet off of Trent. Otherwise, he could have a nice potentially double haul if he did have bonus points for the clean sheet. But he did pick up the assist anyway, so he did get the attack return from that game, which I half expected to happen. And yeah, 5 points for Trent. Unfortunate for not having a clean sheet too. Moving on to the midfield. So the 4 players in midfield, not really much to discuss. Obviously Palmer blanking in the Chelsea game against Man City. A lot of people were convinced that he could possibly get something out of that game. It wasn't to be. He did end up blanking in that fixture with only 2 points, despite Chelsea scoring against Man City. Moving on to Gordon for Newcastle, he does pick up an assist in that 3-1 win over Southampton. Again, another attacking return for Gordon, and obviously another win comparatively to last game week where they got thrashed by Bournemouth 4-1. So it's a good bounce back, I think, for Newcastle, and especially for his teammate up front. But again, another return, 5 points for Gordon. In terms of the rest of the midfield, you've got Rodgers. Obviously, nothing to be with him. He did score a goal, but it was ruled offside. So that's a bit unfortunate in terms of Rodgers owners who did decide to play him. A bit of a relief for those who did bench him, including myself. But at the end, Rodgers only managed to get 1 point, and I think he was substituted off late stages of the second half too, only playing about 70 minutes. So yeah, no return for Rodgers. But Aston Villa, again, they were great to start off with, then they sort of dropped off near the end. But yeah, nothing for Rodgers there. And finally, moved on to the last midfield, that is Salah, who was the captain for us this week, on 16 points for scoring one of the 4 goals against Ipswich. So again, after his 2 back-to-back blanks, Salah has now returned once again. For those who did captain him, very good. Obviously, he's got a double upcoming next, but a nice 16-pointer from Salah with the captaincy over him if you did decide to go, obviously, with Salah in the end. And moving on to the front three, we've got Chris Wood. Very shocking result, if I'm honest. I wasn't expecting Bournemouth to thrash Nottingham Forest 5-0. In the end, that was quite a surprise to obviously see not only Chris Wood blanking, but the fact that Bournemouth thrashed Nottingham Forest 5-0. Never saw that coming. And Bournemouth are quite a surprise when they face, well, that's the second surprise. I never thought they would beat Newcastle 4-1. So it was a bit of a shock to see them score 5 against one of the toughest defences this season. But only 2 points for Chris Wood there. Isaac is the next player up front. Again, there's another massive storm of goals as it keeps coming. After his only blank in 22, he bounces back with 2 goals. After that, with bonus 3 points on top. So if you did decide to captain him, it's you've pretty much won in terms of captain this game, I believe, because that's 32 points, and that has beaten Salah captainers by double the amount of points. So yeah, he was the vice, but yeah, it's not a great week for those who didn't captain Isaac. And finally, moving on to the last player. This was the second free transfer that Huss went for, which massively paid off before his double, obviously in 24. Apologies, that was a sneeze. And yes, it's massively paid off, obviously, for Gakpo owners this week with his 16-pointer for I believe, the 2 goals and the assist. I might be wrong. It might be 2 assists and 2 goals, but massive game changer, obviously, for Gakpo owners. It's already paid off, and he's got a double up next against Leicester and Everton, both away. But yeah, it's massive. Obviously, game week for Gakpo owners, and I think they'd be delighted. And we did say, obviously, at home, Gakpo has scored a lot more than he does away. So it will be interesting to see what he does in double game week for 24. And just to briefly talk through his bench, obviously nothing much there apart from Mikalenko keeping a clean sheet, which would have completed the double Everton defence if he decided to play him instead of obviously Robinson. But it doesn't really matter because he wouldn't have been substituted off as the starting 11 all played. Apart from that, Lewis got 0, Saar got 2, and Fabianski, who didn't play, got 0 as well. And that is a good green arrow. Again, for Huss, he's broken into the top 1 million, and he's now 836k in rank with a massive score of 74 points. So, yeah, big game week in terms of points for Huss, and massive progress as we approach the double game week 24. So that's Huss's team just talked and through and summarized. Let me move on to how my team has done for game week 23. So starting off with goal, I had the same goalkeeper, Pickford, 5 points, for the clean sheet minus the yellow arrow. In defence, Milenkovic, who I regret playing now. I should have played Hurrison or Munoz, ends up on 0. obviously before conceding at least 4 goals, which meant 2 points were taken off of his minutes played. So that leaves him on 0 points. It could have been much worse. He could have had a negative number if Bournemouth did score 1 more goal in that game. Next to him is Robinson, who just played Man United, and obviously no clean sheet for him. Man United won that game 1-0. Tough game, I think, either end. I thought it was actually going to end up in a draw until the later stages where Man United did push for the win. And yeah, Robinson, no attacker return this week, or no clean sheet, only the 2 points. Trent we discussed, only the 5 points from him. So let's move on to the midfield. So we discussed about Palmer, we discussed Salah, and also Gordon. So the only player that I haven't mentioned is obviously Mbeumo. Now this was an interesting game because during this fixture against Crystal Palace, it looked like it was going to be a draw. Both teams were cancelling each other out. Not really a goal in sight for either side. There was chances, half chances created, but nothing significant. Until obviously they were rewarded with a penalty, Brentford, which Mbeumo did take. He hit the post. And then obviously it was cleared by one of the Crystal Palace players. But after that happened, it was sent to VAR, and the penalty was rescinded. So it had to be retaken due to I still don't know what it was, but it was a confliction. I imagine it was because a player encroached, as in before Mbeumo took the ball, he encroached into the box, which you can't do, and then it had to be retaken. So Mbeumo retook the second penalty, and he did end up scoring. And as to my relief, I'm glad the first one didn't count, because that would have been a missed penalty, which meant Mbeumo could have possibly been on negative for missed penalty. But I'm glad he scored. So 7 points for him. He was on 8, so I believe he had a point. I think a bonus point was taken off of him, so he has no bonus, which is surprising and quite annoying. But yeah, 7 points for Mbeumo there, and that completes the midfield. And finally, to finish off with the starting 11 is the front three. We've spoken about Wood, 2 points. Raul Jimenez, 2 points as well in the Man United game. I was kind of expecting something from Jimenez, but it wasn't to be. Only playing about 60 or so minutes during that fixture, and then obviously got substituted off for his teammate Muniz. And yeah, nothing really significant. His goal involvement wasn't that great whatsoever, and yeah, it didn't look like he was going to be scoring in any moment of that game, rather than anyone else in that game, if I'm honest. There wasn't really many touches in the box in the second half, and the first half was pretty much a stalemate. So it was quite a disappointment there for Raul Jimenez. And then obviously with Isaac, we've spoken about him and his massive double haul again to add to the rest of the ones he's had this season. And great for those who did capture him for this game week. And quickly just moving on to the bench before I get to your comments. We've got Vardy, Marson, Rogers, Hewison, who did keep a clean sheet, the Bournemouth defender, against not the Forest. I wasn't expecting it, if I'm honest. That's why I decided to bench him, but it somehow did work out. So I should have played Hewison instead of Milenkovic in the end. Munoz does pick up an assist, even though Brentford did score against Crystal Palace. So attack and return for Munoz. And I guess, again, I could have played Munoz instead of Robinson and got the extra 2 points. So I'm missing out on about 10 points, which could have given me the green arrow. Not a massive one, but it would have been a green arrow nonetheless, because I am currently sitting on a red, surprisingly. And obviously that's it. It's a red arrow. It's a very small one. It's not a big one, but 59 points. I'm surprised that that's still a red arrow at the rank I'm around. I imagine it's because of Isaac captainers that it slightly put me in the red. As the players around, obviously Salah, haven't done half bad. But then I do have some points on the bench too, so that could have made an impact if I had decided to play Munoz and Hewison in the end. But yeah, 59 points, 3.4 million ranked. It's my first red arrow this year after having 3 greens. But we obviously move on to the more exciting game week of Double Game Week 24. Obviously, before we move on, I'll just take a few of your comments and catch up to see how you guys are done. And yeah, we'll take it from there. I will just put my team on the screen there so you guys can see it as it looks at the moment. Take it in while I read your comments. So first one from Div. Thoughts on Arsenal defence for game week 24? Well, let me just take a look at who Arsenal have in game week 24, then I can elaborate on whether that's a good idea. Well, they got Man City at home. It's going to be a very tough fixture. Honestly, I wouldn't, unless I had Gabriel and no one else, I'd probably just start Gabriel if I had him still. Otherwise, I probably wouldn't really consider having an Arsenal defender in for game week 24. I think after Gabriel 7-pointer against Wolves, it might have swayed me to keep him for Man City. But again, I see probably Man City scoring in that fixture and the clean sheet being white for Arsenal. And the only thing Gabriel can really get is from a set piece or corner where he can header it in and get an attack and return that way. But I mean, anything's possible. Man City do concede still, despite them finding a bit more form. I personally would get rid of an Arsenal defender if I had one still for game 24 and look elsewhere, especially when it's a double game week. I'll probably look for a Liverpool defender or an Everton defender. I think either one of those teams can outscore an Arsenal one in game week 24. Ezra, terrible week for me. Sold Guardiola for Trent and had Alisson, no Gakpo, captain Salah, 52 points overall. Yes, he's sort of in a similar boat to me. I decided not to bring in Gakpo. And obviously you sold Guardiola for Trent, who Guardiola again has scored. I think that's his 5th goal, which is unbelievable for Man City. That he's scored that many, and it's crazy how forward he gets for a centre back. It almost makes you wonder if he should be a defender at all instead of being a midfielder. He's shown more attack than a few other Man City players are, and they've been further in front of him. But yeah, it has been one of those weeks, I think, for a lot of people. 50 points. You'd expect that to be a green arrow, but even with me on 59, it's still a red. So yeah, it's a bit underwhelming this week. Hello, Elka, 57 points. Palmer blank room a week. I'm probably going to forward into the minions. Oh, well. Oh, yeah, of course, Elka. I remember you saying captaining Palmer could be the make or break for the rank. So yeah, it's unfortunate, obviously, for the captaincy not to work on Palmer. Kind of reminds me of when I captained other players at the start of the season. Just didn't go my way. And yeah, it's just one of those. It either works out or it doesn't. But we're looking forward. You got the double game week coming up. That should spruce more fortune and luck long term. So hopefully, captain choice for double game week 24 is more exciting. Palmer's leaning to a sell for me. 11.3 is too much to not be performing consistently. Well, this is what I was just talking about with Palmer. Whenever he has a fixture that's really difficult or challenging, like Man City, Palmer doesn't do as well in those fixtures. Whereas if it's an easier one, where Chelsea normally score really high in terms of goals, there's more involvement from Palmer. So with teams that are not like Man City, Palmer's more useful in them. But when it comes to teams like Liverpool, Arsenal, it's where Palmer doesn't really perform as well as he would against lower teams below, obviously them. So it is a pattern with Palmer. He plays better in lower tier teams than he does against high tier, I've noticed. Ezra, sell Munoz or Robinson next week for Everton defender. Yes, that is what I've trying to consider myself, whether I sell Munoz or Robinson. I'm trying to think who would be better off selling. My only reasoning is because depending on when you got Robinson, you hold a lot of money with him, and if you want him back again, a lot of money to take out and bring back in. But Fulham's fixtures do turn. They got Newcastle next, Nottingham Forest, Crystal Palace, Wolves, Brighton, Spurs, Arsenal, Liverpool, in that order. So Munoz, on the other hand, his fixtures are a little bit more, I'd say, comfortable. They've got Man United, Everton, Fulham, Aston Villa, Ipswich, and Newcastle. So I think I would side towards keeping Munoz and taken out Robinson, especially if you have Newcastle assets in your team as well. It kind of avoids that clash if you do decide to take out, I think, Robinson and keep Munoz in your team, because Munoz has had 2 clean sheets and an attack and return in the last 3 game weeks. I know Robinson's had 2 assists, obviously, previous game week as well. So there's not much in him in terms of attack and returns. But I think I would side towards a Crystal Palace defender long term, I think, and get rid of the Fulham defender Robinson for an Everton defender, of course. Or just play Greece versus Southampton. I probably would just do what you did the first comment. Sell either Munoz or Robinson next week for Everton defender. I'll probably sell Robinson. Scouser already played the assistant manager chip, brought Moyles for the double, then going to swap him for Iriola for 25 and 26. Do you think it's a good move? I mean, yeah, obviously with the manager assistant chip, it's a little bit complicated due to its points and how you score and whatnot. But for a double game week, in terms of Everton, it could be really beneficial, especially when they're playing Liverpool, who are obviously top of the table. Now, as I understand, if that team wins against a few places above them, you score more points if they get that win, depending on how far they are above that team. So doing it against Liverpool could be really good if they manage to get a win against Liverpool. Very unlikely, but it's massive points. That does work out in the double game week, because they then have Leicester as well after that. So yeah, it could work out. I don't hate the move. Targeting it for a double game week isn't such a bad idea, because I feel like you're going to be rewarded more points from it if it does work out in that way, and there's no risk without reward in that regard. So yeah, I think it's a good move to swap for Ariola as well for 25 or 26. Aston Villa, where they are at the moment and who they face, you could get a decent amount of points from that as well. So I think it's a good move. Div, would you do Kluivert for Gordon? Yes, I possibly would, and it's something I was possibly considering as well. Considering Kluivert did score again in the 5-0 win, I was surprised he didn't get more from that fixture. He also got an assist too as well. So yeah, he scored 5 goals in the last 3 game weeks, and he's got Liverpool at home next. I probably would bench him for that game, even though he's got a good record in the game so far. But after that, he's got really nice fixtures. Really nice until game week 31. He has Southampton away in 25 as well, which I'll probably play him in that game week. But I mean, Gordon has Fulham at home this week. I think I would hold on before doing that move. I think I would keep Gordon unless you need to take him out to fund a Gakpo, for example, which I need to do. But if you don't necessarily need to do that, I'll probably keep Gordon for 1 more week and bring Kluivert in next week when he has Southampton away, because Kluivert has Liverpool up next. Michael, I think I'm doing Gordon to Burma because Gordon doesn't really get hauls and Brentford to have Spurs next. Yes, absolutely. That is the sole reason why I kept him Burma, because obviously Spurs did lose this game week 2-1 to Leicester. They have a lot of problems and issues at the back defensively, and not just defensively, midfield. Obviously the goalkeeper, Klinsky, is the new one that they obviously brought in because they had no goalkeeper at all. And yeah, I think it's a fixture to target at the moment, Spurs, because they are conceding goals against any team. If Leicester can score 2 against Spurs, imagine what obviously Brentford can do against them at home. So yeah, it's a good move. I think I'm a Gordon owner myself. If Salah didn't have the double, I possibly would have captained in Birmingham as a one-off for this week, just because of that fixture that he has. And it is true, Gordon doesn't really get hauls. He gets an assist, a goal here and there, but it looks like Isaac is the one that gets double hauls. So yeah, you can possibly go without Gordon, I think, now, and swap to an Mbama, for example. Foden as a replacement to Palmer as a way to get City points. Well, after watching the Man City game, and this is obviously off topic, but I really like the look of Marmoush, their new signing from obviously Egypt. He looked really good in that game. I was surprised he didn't score. He could have possibly had 2 goals at least in that game. One ruled off of offside and obviously a missed chance from him. But Foden is a surprise to me, if I'm honest. Even though he's had the tough fixture against Chelsea, he's got Arsenal next, then Newcastle, then Liverpool. I mean, he's still finding a way to score. It's 1 goal against Chelsea, 2 goals against Ipswich, 2 goals against Brentford, 1 goal against West Ham. He's been on a run in the last 4 game weeks. I still think the boat has been missed for Foden. He might score a goal here and there in between his fixtures that are really tough for Man City, but I kind of think now it's a bit too late to bring in the Foden now. And I probably would just stick to Palmer now instead. I think I would be tempted to bring the Man City forward like Marmoush when the fixtures do swing a bit as a differential. But unless you have Foden already now, I just feel like it's too late to bring him in because I think you missed out on all the points that he's gained already. Because I don't think he'll get many more in the upcoming game weeks now, considering the Man City's fixtures are tough. And they are going against Liverpool and Arsenal, one of the toughest defences in the league. So I don't expect many goals coming from either of those fixtures, in my opinion. Play Eze or Rodgers next week. With Eze, it's a bit frustrating because he has a lot of chances, but he just can't finish them. He has really had a drop off. I definitely wouldn't go for Eze. I probably would play Rodgers next week. He's got Wolves away, and as we know, Wolves do concede goals, and Roger could have possibly had a goal today if it wasn't ruled off offside. So I would probably play Rodgers instead of Eze next week. NH19 Moyles 0.5 million with a double. Tempted. Yeah, absolutely. Moyles could be the way to go. Obviously, we will do a video in the podcast to see percentages of managers to see who is the preferred one in terms of effectiveness, in terms of where they are in the table and who they are facing in the game as well. So we'll look more in depth with that. But there is a wide selection, obviously, especially with Everton and Liverpool having the double. It could be tempting to use it on the double gaming teams this week. Edekar 90% locked on captaining Pickford for 2 home games. It's very bold. Very bold. It's not really a bad move. If you consider Everton away and home have been really good defensively, and they've held back a lot of decent teams. Let's just take a look, obviously, at Pickford's clean sheets. So they kept one against Brighton, kept one against Chelsea and Arsenal, Wolves, Brentford, West Ham, Newcastle, Ipswich. So that's 8 clean sheets for Pickford against easy and tough opponents combined. So it wouldn't be a surprise if Everton hold Liverpool off as a 0-0. It wouldn't, even though Liverpool's attack is impressive. They're looking really good in terms of the title race and whatnot. Everton are really hard to break down. So I wouldn't be surprised if Pickford does manage to pull off a clean sheet because he's a decent goalkeeper. And combined with Leicester at home, you'd think that's a clean sheet there as well for him. So he could be massively scoring points in this double. So I'm quite glad to own him for that. So captaining him is exciting. Also nerve-wracking because you obviously don't want him to concede in that double game week, especially Leicester as well. Roman got to buy points at double moves yesterday. Gordon, João Pedro, De Cliver and Gakpo, and as of now, Salah has triple captain armband on. So you're one of the lucky few that didn't use the triple captain, which is going to pay off massively if you still have it at this moment in time, because now you can activate it on Salah, who unfortunately has a double game week for 24. So I'm quite jealous of that. I wish I saved it for that moment, but we weren't to know. Obviously, Liverpool were going to get a double game week, obviously because of the storm cancelling that fixture against Everton. It then led to that, so it just shows you just need a bit of fortune and luck as well with chips. Ezra, João Pedro to Ndiaye, thoughts. I have no Everton players. Yeah, Ndiaye is a very interesting player. He did score the goal after Calvert-Lewin did go off. I feel like he's more of a threat when DCL isn't there. Obviously, he does play more forward in his position, but I do actually prefer him. It's been actually class to watch. If you have seen Everton games, he's pretty much their best player as well. So yeah, if anyone's to score, he is the player that most likely will. I don't hate the move, especially when you have no Everton players. Having an attacking one isn't such a bad idea, I think. Nice differential. I don't think many people will look to go to him, because obviously Everton don't score that many goals, but it feels like they are starting to score more than what they were doing. The previous owner, Sean Dyche, who was more like a defensive manager rather than an attacking one. At the same time, Everton don't really have that many attacking players, but he's really shown the light on obviously the Everton attack. So yeah, he could be a good move to go to. I would definitely get rid of João Pedro and bring him in if I was you, Ezra, if I didn't have any Everton. I know, because it's just found out Marmoush is a striker. Yes, and that's what makes it interesting, because if he can be a Haaland replacement, that saves so much money, because I think he's 7 million. So you're saving 8 million if you do go for Marmoush down the line. The Man City's fixtures do change. So yeah, I feel like Marmoush down the line could be a good investment for Man City asset. And he did play decent minutes on his debut, about 73, and obviously went off when Man City were leading 2-1. I'm not too worried about his minutes, because obviously Man City do need more players with youth quality, as they are lacking that in different sections of the team. As well, I don't think this is the best double, by the way, so I'm going to hold the assistant manager. Yeah, obviously everyone has a different strategy on when to use it or whatnot. There's not a right or wrong time to use it. It's whatever we feel like is the right time. Hopefully it works out whenever you do use it. I'm still trying to get my head around it, so I'm not really contemplating using it in this double game week, but I'm going to invest some time and look towards when to use it. And Roman, benching headaches now. What would you do? Play Mateta or Cliver? And which defender would you play? Out Kirkes, Robertson, or Milenkovic? Well, I think I would definitely play Mateta against Man United, even though today defensively Man United kept a clean sheet. It still isn't quite there for them, but I mean, they got the win. Crystal Palace, even though they didn't get a great result today, I mean, Clivert has Liverpool, so I'm not really expecting Bournemouth to discourage them that much, even though Bournemouth just scored 5 against Nottingham Forest, which no one saw that coming. I just think that Liverpool, again, it is a home fixture for Bournemouth. Maybe Clivert can get something, but I mean, I would put more faith in Mateta, because Man United, you don't know how they will do on the week. With Liverpool, you know exactly what they're going to do. So I'll probably go with the unpredictable one and go for Mateta. And which defender to play? Out Kirkes, Robinson, and Milenkovic. Again, I wouldn't go for Kirkes because he's got Liverpool. I would avoid going for any Bournemouth players, even though they've done well against Nottingham Forest. It'll be either Robinson or Milenkovic. I probably would go for Milenkovic if Everton can keep a clean sheet against Brighton away. Nottingham Forest should find a way to bounce back at home and get a clean sheet against Brighton. So I probably would play Milenkovic in that regard. Robinson has Newcastle away. I expect Newcastle to score. So Milenkovic is the one I'll probably play out of those three, Roman. But obviously, before I get into any more comments, guys, I'll just let you guys know what my team is. So as you can see on the screen, I've got Pickford in goal. He's my first double game week player. He's got Leicester and Liverpool at home. Back three currently is Milenkovic, Minos, and Trent, who's the second double game week player in my team for Liverpool, with Bournemouth and Everton away. In terms of defence, I'm probably going to play Minos and Milenkovic and leave Robinson on the bench because I have Newcastle assets in there. So that's the back three I'm probably deciding to line up with. Midfield four, I'm quite liking Burmo against Tottenham at home. I think he can have a really good game week. Him and Wissa could potentially be a good one to have for double game week 24 for a single. Next team is Palmer against West Ham at home. In West Ham really lacked the attacking side like we saw today. It did take a few substitutes to make it work. But Chelsea, again, this is one of those fixtures, like I said, Palmer could possibly do better in compared to a Man City fixture. It is a team that he usually does well against. So at home fixture for Chelsea, definitely one for me to keep Palmer for. And the next team, you've got Salah. He's got the captain armband. I think that's without no argument there. Bournemouth and Everton away. He's going to be the most highest captained asset for double game 24 with no doubt. If you do go against him, that is either going to be make or break, but he's going to be my captain, I think, for this week, locked and ready. And the next thing you've got Gordon, he's got Fulham at home, which there could be some plans to decide what to do with Gordon and whether I keep him or not, or transfer him out. That's to wait and see. And out front we've got Wood, Raul Jimenez, and Isaac. So Raul Jimenez is another player that I'm considering taking out as well of my team. Wood, I'm keeping him for Brighton at home, and Isaac definitely keeping for Fulham at home. So 2 home fixtures for the forwards and 1 away for Raul Jimenez. On the bench, you've got Vardy, Marston, Rogers, Robinson, and Huijsen. So it's pretty easy to bench Robinson and Huijsen because I expect Newcastle, Liverpool to score against them both. So there's no point me really having them out in my back three. That only leaves really Rogers, who is on the first team bench. I could swap him out for Gordon, but I do have plans to take Gordon out and possibly play Rogers instead of obviously Gordon, who will be someone else. So that's my starting 11 and team bench order. In terms of transfer plans, I'll just show you roughly what I'm leaning towards. So bear with me. Let me just switch to the transfer page. If I can. My mouse is not playing ball. My mouse has stopped working. We have some technical difficulties, guys. Just while I sort that out, I'll leave our team on the screen for now. And I possibly might have to show you on the Kneejerk because I don't feel the mouse is playing ball at the moment because I can barely move it. But yeah, I'll see if I can take a few of your comments while I sort that out. Michael, Eze to Clivert for Game Week 25. Yes, absolutely. Clivert has Southampton away. I'm not sure who Crystal Palace have, but I definitely would play Clivert for that fixture instead of Eze. I think Eze just gets a lot of chances, but he's unable to finish them, which is the frustrating thing. With Clivert, if he ever gets a chance, he's on penalties too. And Bournemouth have had a lot more penalties than Crystal Palace have this season, so I think there's a bonus to going for Clivert for Game Week 25 onwards. He's definitely in my view as well. As well, Aston Villa fixtures are good now. Is that to Watkins when is that face City or no? Honestly, I would keep Isaac in the team regardless because it's going to be really expensive to bring Isaac back in if you get rid of him now, which I expect you will bring him back in after the Man City game because he's had a lot of price rises. And if you have brought him in really early, it's going to be a lot more expensive and harder to bring him back in. So I probably would save Isaac and try and find, if you still want Watkins, try and find another way through to get to him from the other two forwards. But yeah, I think in terms of that, I think Rodgers is decent cover instead of Watkins if you can't for goals and assists. So I think I would lean towards Rodgers instead of going for Watkins because he is expensive, even though Isaac is around that price as well. It's just Isaac is doing so much more than Watkins is at the moment. I think Watkins only got an assist this week. Isaac's had 2 goals this week comparatively. Even though the fixtures were different, I feel like Isaac is irreplaceable for anyone. Or Gordon to Rodgers. Yes, this is what I'd probably do. I'll probably do Gordon to Rodgers instead of doing Ezra for doing obviously Isaac to Watkins. And Trent captain maybe. Yeah, I mean why not? There's double game week players in there. Any of them could possibly do well this week. And Trent being one of them could easily have a haul against Bournemouth and Everton away. He shows that attacking threat. We saw that obviously against Ipswich getting the assist. So there's always that opportunity from free kicks and whatnot, open play for him to do well in. But it is something to contemplate over Captain Saka. And okay, I was getting to 800k, so I quickly think could change. Yeah, absolutely. He started off where I pretty much was lots of game weeks ago, and he's broken into the 1 million. So yeah, anything is possible if you make the right captain decisions and also the team around your captain as well. For example, Gakpo, who he bought in this week, did massively well, and that helped with Huss's green arrow this week to break into the top 1 million. So it's moves like that which can change your season in a few game weeks. It hasn't really happened for me yet, but I'm hoping it does very soon. Bruno Flecken to Pickford and Burmo tonight, right? We'll get our price if it doesn't. Yes, it's Bruno to Flecken. I'm not sure if Muriel and Bruno to Flecken, but oh, sorry, Flecken to Pickford. Thinking there's no Flecken that can replace Bruno, but I see what the question means now. Yes, Flecken to Pickford's fine, and obviously Bruno to Mbomo. Yeah, I think 2 good transfers are fine. If you are going to get a price by it, then yeah, I probably would do it tonight, early, because I would want Mbomo for Tottenham, and I'd want Pickford for the double. And he hit the post with Salah assist as well. Yeah, of course, I did hear about that too. Could have possibly scored Trent, but unable to rebounded, and obviously Salah got the assist as well. So yeah, it's a bit unfortunate there. It seems like my mouse has regained control, so I will show you now. Obviously, what my plans are for Double Gameweek 24 roughly, of what I'm leading towards. So let me just make that screen bigger. Let me just scroll down. But yes, let me just move up that a little bit more. Yeah, that's good enough. So yeah, as you can see, guys, I've got 4 free transfers. So I've been saving up for this Double Gameweek 24, just in case of any issues that might have arisen leading towards it. But so far, there's not been any flags, which I'm relieved of. So I won't need to necessarily use all 4 free transfers on this Double Game Week. So I'm good cover-wise. So the plan at the moment is taking out Gordon and bringing in Cliver, who I'll probably bench for this week because he's got Liverpool. And then what I'll do is upgrade, well, take out Raul Jimenez, upgrade him to Gakpo. So that's 2 free transfers used. The other transfer would be taken out. I think I've taken out Robinson. And then replacing Robinson with Mikalenko. Which does save me a bit more money doing that move. And that enables me to have triple Liverpool for the double game week and having double Everton defence for the double game week. So that's 5 double game week players that I'll be going with for game week 24. I don't think I want to go triple Everton because I've got the defence covered and I'm not really expecting much from attackers. Maybe in Dye could be an option to go for, but obviously Calvert-Lewin has got a flag over him, so I'm not sure whether he'll be playing in the double or not. But he could be an option. The only problem is he's a forward, so you've got to find a spot for him, which I don't think I would probably take out Isaac or Wood for. And I think I would want Gakpo more than obviously him, even though Gakpo is going to be heavily popular come the double game. He's already 15%, which I can see increasing massively for that. But 2 goals and 1 assist has promoted his ownership, I think, for the double too. And yeah, that is pretty much what my plans are. I still have 1 free transfer left, so I will have obviously 2. Well, I'll have 2 in game week 25 to use. So yeah, I've still got transfers to burn. And spare 1 there is handy in case of anything leading up to this double game week, anything happens. So that's my plans at the moment, guys. Hopefully, hopefully those plans work out. In terms of the double game week, I'm very excited and thrilled with the setup, but hopefully it does work out, especially for Everton assets. Let me take a few more comments, guys, and I think we'll wrap the stream up as we are nearing the end of Kneejerk reaction. But Roman, if you had Bruno, what would you do with him? The fixtures are pretty good, but United are well united. Just wondering as my midfielders are Salah, Palmer, Clive, Mbappe, and Bruno. So if I sold Bruno, who for? If I had to take a punt on a midfielder, so you got Clivert, Mbappe, Salah, and Palmer. And you want to get rid of Bruno? Let's have a look at options. And I'll just flip back to my other screen, obviously, so you guys can see that while I have a look. So in terms of midfielders, I would probably go for Semenyo as a swap. Yeah, I'll probably go for Semenyo if I'm honest. Bournemouth have really nice fixtures, and I think you actually you've got Cliver anyway. I can't really suggest a Semenyo. Really hard to pick a midfielder, if I'm honest, apart from those 4, because there's not really one that stands out to me. There's not really a standout pick. If I'm honest, there really isn't. Yeah, I'm not really. It's mad to say that there's not really a midfielder that comes to mind or even looks appealing to go for. Which is quite mad. I mean, in terms of, let's see Brentford. I've got it done already. So you don't really want another Brentford player. Yeah, I'm honestly stumped by this question, bro. If I'm honest, I'm surprised I'm not surprised you not asked it because it is a bit of a predicament. Because Let us know in the chat, guys. Who would you sell Bruno for if you already have Palmer, Salah, Cliver, and Burma ready? I'm not really sure who you got. I would suggest an Everton midfielder, but again, Everton, like I've said, do not score. Like if they were goal scorers in Everton in that midfield, that's where I would likely go for the double to replace obviously Bruno for the game week at least. Until I looked elsewhere, but I mean, there's absolutely no one that I can see that would be a. I mean, Rodgers is honestly the only player that I would suggest. It saves you a lot of money as well. Yeah, it'd probably only be Rodgers that I would suggest in that. If I was to place Bruno, it would be him because there's literally no one else that looks appealing in terms of fixtures. Hopefully that does help. If you did sell Bruno, I'll probably send him to Rodgers in your regard. Muriel, who would you start between Timber, Robinson, and Greaves next game week? Timber has tough fixture. Probably wouldn't play him in that game. Robertson has Newcastle away. And Greaves has. Let me check who Greaves has, because I probably would. I think I will probably play. I'll probably play Greaves, if I'm honest. He's got the best fixture out of those three, and it's sort of on the level of what Ipswich could possibly play against, so there could be a clean sheet for them against Southampton at home. So I probably would start Greaves and hope for a clean sheet because Robertson and Timber I don't expect to keep one either, but Greaves has the most likely chance of one, I think, out of those selections. Ezra hates Semenyo whenever I bench him 10, 12 points when I play him, 3 points max when I sell him most points in game week. He is a troll. Yeah, there's some players are like that hot and cold, and when you want to bench them, they score, and then obviously when you play them, they don't. It's just typical FPL and the way it works. There's no logic behind it, but it is the most frustrating thing when it does happen to you multiple times, and yet it can be very frustrating in every sense when a player does do that to you in the team. And Nottingham Forest midfielder might be the play. I was looking at Nottingham Forest midfielder, but after that Bournemouth game, I want to wait and see how Nottingham Forest react to Brighton. I think before I decide to bring in a midfielder for Nottingham Forest, because that Bournemouth one was an utter shock. I don't know if anyone else was going to predict that outcome or not. I kind of expected them to at least lose, but not 5-0. I'm not sure I want to load up on another Nottingham Forest asset if you have Wood already and possibly a Nottingham Forest defender. Because as good as Nottingham Forest have been, they don't really score that many goals, surprisingly. But that's another thing as well. They're not the team that scores 3 or 4 in a game. It's like 1 or 2. Similar to what Arsenal were doing at the start of the season. But yeah, in terms of midfielders, it's a bit of a. Seems like a bit of a dry spell because we sort of know who's good and who's not to bring in. And the midfield you see on the screen is pretty much the main template at the moment to go for. But obviously, we'll wait and see because we still got a long time. I'm just going to check when the deadline is for the game. So, okay, it's Saturday. Deadline's at 11 o'clock, so it will be a normal 10 o'clock stream for the deadline stream leading up to it. So, yeah, we've got 6 days to look over and discuss and obviously come back to our plans. So we've got a long time to think about it until Saturday. Are you tripling captain Salah? I wish I could, Muriel, but I don't have my triple captain chip. As you can see, I've already played it. I played it in game week 14. So I wish I kept it now because I believe triple captained. Well, it doesn't show it on here, but I triple captained Palmer for that week, so didn't really work out. He did score, but he only got a goal from that game, which was a bit underwhelming. So yeah, kind of unfortunate with that. I kind of wish I still had it because I would use it on Salah now this week, without a doubt. He would be my triple captain for Double Game 24. But I think we'll leave it there, guys. I think that's all discussed until obviously the podcast coming midweek, which will be Wednesday, where we discuss more in depth about Double Game 24 and what our team selection plans are as well, included for obviously Double Game. So until then, guys, take care. Thank you for watching. Hopefully you've enjoyed the football for Game 23, and hopefully you're ready for Double Game 24. It's going to be very exciting to watch. So we'll be back. Hopefully Huss has managed to join us midweek. He was unable to join us on his deadline. Kneejerk reaction stream, but hopefully you will see his presence next stream. But until then, guys, take care and enjoy the rest of your weekend, and we'll see you on the next stream.